Salutations friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's video I'm going to be reviewing Viking for you. I didn't think I was actually going to be reviewing this one, but I decided I really wanted to based on my own experiences and my own thoughts on this. So if you'd like to know what I think about the new fragrance from Creed Viking, if I think it's worth the hate and the love and the hype and the price point, because it is very expensive, then keep watching. First off, let me remind you guys that this is not sponsored at all. I don't even think they care about my reviews. I do review Creed a little bit, not too often. This is not a sponsored video. They did not send me the sample. I actually had to go to my essay. I signed up for a free sample and they never sent it to me, so I was a little bit upset by that. So I had to go to my my essay to get some samples, and he was very generous and gave me 2 very nice samples. I have a little decant of it here. So I was not sent the samples, if you guys were wondering. And I always like to kind of remind you guys every few videos that my reviews are consumer reviews. I'm not coming at you as an expert. I'm not coming at you as somebody who participates in the industry other than giving you guys reviews. So my reviews are uneducated, consumer. Give my reviews the same weight you would reviews on Base Notes or Fragrantica or Amazon or on their website. That's the level of weight you should give my reviews. That being said, I'm going to talk about Viking. Video about a week or 2 ago when I talked about fragrances that I don't review and choosing fragrances that I review, and this was a fragrance I was unsure if I wanted to review because it was so hyped, because there was a lot of anticipation behind it and the expectations were very high. I feel like when everyone was first sent the round of samples and there was first impressions and people got excited and bought a bottle, or people didn't really like it, there was a lot of like energy around the reviews. People were either a bit shills, people were either haters. I mean, there was like, nobody was right or wrong. There was a lot of thoughts and feelings behind this release, and rightfully so. This is, I believe, the first real release from Creed as a masculine fragrance since Aventus, and there's a lot, again, anticipation and a lot of expectations around this. And I feel like people wanted this to be the next Aventus and wanted this to be the next amazing thing. And I think ultimately a lot of people were let down and a lot of people's expectations were met and exceeded. So I know that this video is probably going to get a lot of downvotes. I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with what I'm going to have to say, and that's completely fine. I'm not one of those people that gets upset if somebody has a difference of opinion than me. I think everyone's allowed to have a difference of opinion, and I am okay with the comment section being a discussion forum. So if you guys really disagree with what I'm saying and you have your own thoughts, if you don't like Creed, if you don't agree with their business practices, if you love this fragrance and you think it's getting a lot of unwarranted hate, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. I'm always welcome to this being an open discussion. So that being said, let's get into the review. Let's talk about the notes. Alright, so the top notes we have are bergamot, lemon, and pink pepper. That's very specific. Pink pepper is kind of like fruity and spice, but not like a really harsh, spicy spice like black pepper. But at the heart you do have black pepper, rose, and peppermint. Do remember that peppermint note, guys. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that very soon. And then we have the base notes: sandalwood, vetiver, patchouli, and Lavandin. I can never pronounce that note. I'm very sorry. So this fragrance to me is something that I really was intrigued by when I saw the notes, because when I see pink pepper, pepper, and rose, I think of a spiced rose, and I really love spicy rose fragrances. And then when I see bergamot in a fragrance, it's one of those citruses that can pull a little bit creamy on me. And I know that you're thinking citrus creamy, but hear me out for a second. I've mentioned this before. When you have tea, you have Earl Grey tea. Earl Grey is a bergamot flavored tea. A lot of people drink it with cream and sugar. So in my mind, because I drink Earl Grey teas with cream and sugar, I think of a sweet, creamy citrus. So when I see bergamot, sometimes I can think of it as a creamy citrus because of that. And thankfully in this fragrance, it's not creamy at all. It is just a beautiful, bright, crisp citrus note that pairs really nicely with the lemon. So the opening of this is really, really nice. It's bright, it's crisp, it's cheerful. I know that sounds like maybe not something you want in masculine fragrances, but I really enjoy the opening. The opening lasts for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then you get this really beautiful dry down, which is where this fragrance really starts to shine. You get the rose, you get the pepper, and most specifically, you get the peppermint. Now, the peppermint acts as somewhat of a brightening, cooling agent to this. It makes it very refreshing. And the reason why I like the peppermint so much is because this is supposed to be Viking, supposed to be on long boats, like through the ocean. It kind of reminds me of a glacier. So it kind of gives us this coolness in the background, which gives it a little bit of complexity. Now, I do kind of want to read the little blurb about this. I'm going to do that after I go in talking to you a little bit more about how it develops on the skin. So basically, the peppermint adds this nice cooling, crisp coolness in the background, but the notes to me that pull really heavy on this fragrance, specifically in the dry down, are the rose, the pink pepper, the peppermint, and the sandalwood. And these kind of come together to create this really beautiful, smooth, woodsy, citrusy, bright fragrance, which I really enjoy. Now, the vetiver in this is really nice because it doesn't pull damp, dark, wet, moist, and smoky, which is one of my favorite ways to have vetiver, but I feel like that would have been the wrong choice for this fragrance. It's actually more of a grassy vetiver, more dry, which pairs really nicely with the peppermint. So everything is kind of coming together in this beautiful kind of like soup of a fragrance, like this melange of different notes. And they aren't really clashing, but they're melting together really nice. Now, this isn't one of the fragrances where you can pick out the different notes and be like, hey, I found the sandalwood, hey, I found the rose, hey, I found the pepper. It comes together to form one symphony, one song, rather than little solo things here and there. So this is a very linear fragrance as well too. I don't think I mentioned that. Once you get to the dry down, once you get to where the rose comes out and the sandalwood and the peppermint's there, it pretty much stays that way the entire lifespan on your skin. It just gets a little bit softer and softer and softer. And the longer you wear it, you get a little bit more of the patchouli, you get a little bit more of the vetiver, and a little bit less of the peppermint. So it gets a little bit less crisp and a little bit deeper and woodsier, which is really, really nice. So this is a beautiful fragrance. I actually really enjoyed it. When I first tried this fragrance, the opening, although I initially loved it, I wasn't wowed by it. It's definitely something I'd smelled before. But the longer I wore this on my skin, the more I really, really, really enjoyed it. Alright, so the projection and longevity for this fragrance, one's really good, one's not so good. The longevity of this fragrance is actually really nice. I get about 6 to 10 hours on my skin, and yes, I did say 6 to 10 instead of 6 to 8. Light application, just 1 or 2 spritzes on my body, 6, no question. If I even do a little bit more, 10, no question. There's like no middle ground for this. So it does have really nice longevity. If you guys don't know, I live in the tropics. It's really humid here. It's very sweaty here. It rains. It's just not the best environment for fragrances lasting on your skin. So this does perform very well. However, when it comes down to projection, I feel like this is where this fragrance falls short. If you want, and I feel like with how this fragrance smells, this is the type of scent that you really want to be loud, because it is really beautiful and it is really inviting and warm and kind of sexy. I feel like this is the type of fragrance you really want to project, and this is the type of fragrance that, at least on my skin, doesn't. I don't even get arm's length, like very, if I'm lucky, I might get like to my wrist. It's kind of very intimate. It sits close to the skin, and it's not very loud even at that point. You kind of have to come in a little bit, which is nice if that's what you want, but I feel like with a fragrance of this, you really want it to project. It's a really beautiful fragrance, and I feel like if it projected, it could be like such a compliment getter, because it's really quite beautiful, and it's also very familiar. I think a lot of people compared this to Spice and Wood. I love Spice and Wood. I have like a little Create atomizer filled with Spice and Wood. One of my absolute favorite fragrances from them. I need to buy a bottle of it. It doesn't remind me at all of Spice and Wood. It kind of reminds me more of an updated like Old Spice. And that might sound harsh. I need to buy a bottle of Old Spice because I love Old Spice. So I think that's the best way to kind of describe this fragrance. It's kind of like an updated luxury, more sophisticated version of Old Spice. So I can see where people would be really into that if that's the type of fragrances that they want, but I can also see where people would be kind of why would I spend that money on that? Where the biggest kerfluffle for this fragrance is, it is very expensive. It's like $450 for a bottle. So you're looking at spending a giant chunk of money. You can get Raja for that, you can get Clive Christian for that, you can get other creeds for that. I mean, you can get Xerja for that, Amoat. I mean, like, I'm talking like, you can get some really amazing fragrances for that price. So is this fragrance, with this profile, how it smells, is it worth the money? And some people say yes, and some people say no. Ultimately, do I think this is worth the price? Now, I can understand where people wouldn't think it's worth the price, and I could understand why people would think it's worth the price. I think it's really up to you guys. I know with the House of Creed, there are definitely people out there that are super fans of the fragrance, will buy anything from them. It doesn't matter if they like it or don't like it. They are hardcore collectors, and they will just buy whatever in every different size. And then there's people out there that are hypercritical of Creed, do not agree with their pricing, their business practices, and think that everything that they do is overpriced. And I feel like ultimately when it comes to either of those, both people are correct because they're basing it off of their own experiences. People that really love Creed really love Creed. They love the fragrances, they love the quality, and they agree with the price point based on the history, and the quality of ingredients and the juice and things like that. And then other people for the same reason. They don't care about how long a fragrance has been around. They care about the juice, just the performance, and they think it's overhyped and overpriced. And both people are correct. So ultimately, when it comes down to this fragrance, I myself personally would buy it at full price. I'm not going to do it right now because as much as I love it, I'm going to definitely at least completely wear through my little decant here until I decide if it's something I would want to purchase. But currently right now, having wearing it a bunch and how it smells, how it plays on my skin, how it performs, aside from the projection issue, I would pay a full bottle for this, full price for this, most definitely. I think it's beautiful. But I can understand people who wouldn't, because I don't think this type of fragrance will wow everybody. I think a lot of people will have smelled this before and have something like this in their collection already, or some people just don't like Creed. And I feel like with this fragrance, whether you like the House of Creed or not, because of how this fragrance smells and because of the specific notes in here, because there isn't anything truly crazy in these ingredients. You can definitely find patchouli, sandalwood, pink pepper, peppermint, and other fragrances. And there's definitely fragrances out there that have the same composition. You should sample this first to see if it's better than the other ones, better than the ones you already own. And generally if it works on your skin, because I have smelled this on other people and I will toot my own horn. The best person it's ever smelled on, the best it's ever smelled was on me. I like the way it smells on me better than anyone else I've ever smelled it on. There's something about my skin that's really pulling out the rose, really pulling out the sandalwood, really pulling out the vetiver with the peppermint. Gorgeous on my skin, and I'm really loving it. So I keep smelling my wrist. But definitely sample this first. Do not buy blind, and do not just listen to one review. If you guys read reviews, if you guys look to your reviewers on YouTube or in Facebook fragrance groups or anything like that, definitely get a variety of different reviews. If you're going to buy this blind, don't buy this blind. Don't buy this blind. This is not a fragrance to buy blind. Not because it's like weird, not because it's like unlikable. It's really easy to understand, but because it's so similar to a lot of different things out there, you might buy it, wear it, and decide, why did I spend the money on this? It's not worth it. Because on your skin, it might not work that well, or on somebody else's skin, it might work spectacularly. And it is ridiculously expensive. So definitely sample first and educate yourself on other reviewers, see what people are saying about it. It's in your best interest. That being said, below I'm going to list some of my favorite reviewers who have done first impressions and reviews on this fragrance, and a lot of their opinions will differ than my own. It's completely up to you guys what you do in regards to who you trust with this fragrance. Again, I know that there's a lot of controversy around the House of Creed, and I was a little skeptical, there we go, if I wanted to film this review, because I do know the kind of critical reception that reviewing Creed and new fragrances can go. But the reason why I wanted to review this for you guys is because I genuinely love this fragrance. This was not given to me. This was a sample. I had to beg from my SA after they refused to send me one, and I contacted customer service and nothing. So I actually kind of went in this a little bitter. But generally, the more I wore it, the more I really appreciated it and loved the way it played on my skin. So overall, like, my thoughts of Viking are very positive. Performs very well, at least longevity-wise, projection-wise. But the way that the fragrance itself smells is really beautiful, very masculine, very sexy, woody, smooth, bright and crisp. Just a beautiful arrangement of notes that come together to create a really beautiful fragrance. So that's my thoughts on Viking, guys. As I said earlier, I filmed this video like 5 times. I always like my comment section being a discussion. So, I mean, I would love to know your true opinions on this fragrance if you've tried it, and on the House of Creed. If you think this fragrance, if you've tried it, if you think my opinion is completely wrong, if you think, why would you like this? It's basically just an Old Spice. You could just spend $10 and get an Old Spice. I'd really like people who are coming to this review to really, who are trying to get information if they wanted to buy this review, to be able to also go to the comment section and see what other people have to say about this fragrance as well. So you can be as critical as you want, or you can say, yeah, it smells really good. You know, I definitely don't understand why so many people dislike it, or you can say, I definitely see why people dislike it. I would love to know what you guys think, thus in the comment section below. As always, guys, if you like my fragrance videos and videos like this in general, remember to give this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue doing videos like this. And also don't forget to subscribe, because it's free and I'm free, and I put out new videos every Monday through Friday, and sometimes on the weekends as well. So always have something for you to watch. In any case, I hope you guys are all happy and healthy. Have a great day, month, year, whatever. And I'll see you next time. Bye!